Hello, in this video we will go over how to create group sets. To begin, scroll down and toward the bottom of the course menu under Users and Groups, choose Groups. Under the Create button, you'll see three options for creating group sets. Self-enroll group sets allow you to create a set of groups where students can choose which group they'd like to enroll into. Random enroll allows you to create a set of groups where students are randomly shuffled into the groups that you create. And then manual enroll group sets allow you to create a set of groups where you choose which student goes into which group. No matter which type of group set you create, as the instructor, after students have enrolled or been randomly enrolled, you can always go in and change who's in what group and add additional people to groups if needed. First, let's take a look at the self-enroll group set. You'll want to name your group sets based on whatever type of activity they'll be doing. So if this is a final project group set, you would call it final project group. As you scroll down, the first option you're going to see is Group is visible to students, no, yes, or sign-up sheet only. If you choose no, this group won't be visible to the students, but you'll still be able to use some of the other group features in my courses. If you choose yes, this gives groups that you create a space within your site where they can work together, communicate back and forth with each other, pass files back and forth with each other, and meet with each other privately as groups. If you choose sign up sheet only, this is going to create a sign up sheet and won't actually make use of any other group features, where you can create some slots for times for students to present or topics, and students will simply sign up for whichever option they want. There won't be anything beyond just signing up as they would having a paper on the door signing up for something. First, under tool availability, most people will not use blogs, journals, academic materials, content market, or wikis. These tools are better used outside of the groups tool. Instead, we're going to focus on the tools that could be useful. First is discussion board. This allows you to give students in a group a space to privately discuss things as a group. You can create multiple discussion boards so that they can do multiple separate discussions, and they can optionally be graded. Leaving email enabled allows them to quickly and easily email other people in their group. File exchange provides them with a space where they can upload files in a central area where everyone in the group can access them. Tasks allows them to create tasks and assign them to certain members of the group. This can be helpful if they're working on a big project. And Blackboard Collaborate Ultra gives them a space to meet online live using their cameras and microphones if they need to. Once you've chosen the tools you'd like to use, scroll down a bit and you'll see sign up options. So the first thing you'll need to do is give your sign up sheet a name. So here I'll just call it Pick a Group. And just below that, I see maximum number of members, where I can choose how many students max can be in each group. So I'll set that to 8. And I'll also see a checkbox to show members, which allows students to see who's in a group before they sign up for it. Lastly, I see number of groups. Here I'm going to choose how many groups I'd like to have created. So in this case, I'll have 5 groups that can have no more than 8 people in them. So now I'll click Submit, and I'll see all of my groups have been created. If I'd like to change the name of the individual groups, I can click the down arrow next to the group set and choose Edit Group Set Membership. Here I can change the names of the groups in the name field, and I can also add or delete students who have signed up for the groups. Now let's talk about random enroll groups. I'm going to do the same thing and give my group a name. All of these options are pretty much the same as the previous screen, except down here things are a little bit different. I can either generate groups based on how many groups I want, or based on how many students I want per group. So here, if I said I want 4 students per group, and I had 20 students in my class, it would automatically generate 5 groups. If I want to just say that outright, I can choose number of groups and set 5. Below that, there are options for how the rest of the students would be distributed. So if this was a class of 22 and the groups are all of 5, what would you do with those remaining 2 people? So you can choose to either distribute them amongst the groups, where it would just randomly drop those other 2 people somewhere. You can choose to put those remaining people in their own additional group, or you can manually be given the choice to choose what groups that those people will go into. I'm going to choose distribute them amongst the groups, so it just randomly drops those 2 people into one of the existing groups I've already created, and then I'll click submit. And now you can see here's my random groups, and I can do the same thing, clicking the down arrow and editing the group set membership if I wanted to alter the names of the individual groups within the set. Now let's do create manual enroll groups. This is where you want to manually control who's in what group. So I'll call these my manual groups. I'll see all those same options again, and it's just going to ask me on this screen how many groups I want. So I'm going to say 3, and then click submit. Now here I'm brought to a screen where I can change the name of each group, and if I use the Add Users button, I see a roster of my students and I can pick who I'd like to put into the groups. I can also use the X to remove anybody from a group that I don't want to be there. Once I click Submit, my groups will be created and they'll all show up here together. If you have multiple group sets, you can see that you're able to differentiate between them via the Group Set column. And remember, you can always edit who's in what group by clicking the down arrow next to those groups and choosing Edit Group Set Membership. To access a group's area, you can click on the name of the group and you'll be brought to their group homepage. If you'd like to access this group's discussions or this group's files, you can use these links to jump in and do that. So, for example, if I click on Group Discussion Board, automatically they get one discussion board to start with, but as the instructor, if I'd like to create additional group discussions, I can click the Create Forum button and follow the steps to create additional forums where they can have separate discussions. Now let's talk about how I can link students to the groups that I've created. Up at the top of a content area, you'll see a Tools option, and then you can choose Groups. I'm going to choose to link to a group or group set, and then I'll see my group sets that I've created here. So for my final project group, that was a self-enroll group where students chose what group they wanted to enroll in. So if I link to that group and click Next, it allows me to name my link and provide a description. Give some context for this link in the text field and then click Submit. Now you have a link that looks like this. It's important to create links in content areas to groups or group sets so that students understand what to do with the link that you're giving them. Now when the students come to this page, they'll be able to click onto that link and they'll be presented with options for which group they'd like to sign up for. Once they sign up for a group, they'll be brought into the group homepage where they can start doing group discussions and activities. The process of linking to randomized or manual enroll groups is identical to this. You go to Tools, choose Groups, choose Link to Group or Group Set, and then pick the group set you'd like to link to, click Next, and then add directions if you like to, click Submit, and the link is there. The only difference is that when you link to a self-enroll group set, students are asked to enroll in a group, whereas with this type of a link to a manual or random one, they're just dropped into whatever group they were already put into. Now to wrap up, let's talk about assignments. The assignment tool can be used to accept student attachments as submissions, but it can also be used to accept group work, where one person submits on behalf of an entire group. If you go to Assessments and then choose Assignment, you can create a name for your assignment, and as you scroll down under Submission Details, you'll see Group Submission as an option. And then you're able to assign this assignment to a particular set of groups. So here I've said this is an assignment for groups 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When students come to submit, only one person from each group will need to do the submission. So if I'm in group 1, I would submit on behalf of me and potentially 4 other people. The point of this feature is to be a time saver. If each of these groups had 5 students in them, that would be 25 individual submissions. But since you only want 5 and you want them all to get the same feedback, setting it up this way allows you to only have to handle 5 of those submissions. I will mention though, as you're grading a group submission, you can, if necessary, override one particular student's grade in a group if needed.